everybody. Welcome to the Dental Diaries podcast. This is Jessica Emery. I am back, and I have an amazing guest with me today, Kim Meehan, and she is just a rock star in the dental hygiene world, dental world in general, but you do amazing things for hygiene departments and teams. So we're going to get into it. Welcome to being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dr. Emery.
Thank you. So we were just talking behind the scenes about all of the things. I always get overexcited and we start talking about great things before I even hit record. So now that we're on here, do you want to tell us like a little bit about you and your background?
Sure. So I'm a registered dental hygienist, licensed in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, but I've pretty much worked my entire career in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia. So I moved to New Jersey, about 20 years ago, and that's when I obtained my New Jersey license. I think I used it for 3 months, and then I went right back to Center City. It's just a world of difference when you practice in a city environment versus a suburban environment.
Sure.
Yeah. Hours, the clientele. So I found myself practicing in Philadelphia my whole career, which is 26, going on 27 years now. I've been a dental hygienist.
That's awesome. So you were practicing in Philly, and then did you move to New Jersey?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is that where you are now?
Where I am now. I live in New Jersey, but I am literally right across the bridge from Philadelphia. So I am about 7 miles where I live from Philadelphia, from Center City.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And you stopped practicing how long ago?
Well, I stopped practicing full time 1.5 years ago. To start my dental hygiene consulting business. I also started a charity as well about that same time, and I wanted to just have a little bit more flexibility to work with my charity and to work with forming the dental hygiene consulting business. So I stopped working full-time hygiene about 1.5 years ago, and I went to 1 day a week. I work 1 day a week for Dr. Todd Fleischman in Center City, Philadelphia. It's a fabulous practice. What happened, I had all intentions of leaving full-time hygiene and just temping, right? Because I wanted that flexibility and that freedom that you don't get when you're a full-time clinical hygienist. And I happened to know Dr. Fleischman's staff because I worked there many, many years ago. And I said, hey guys, if you need some help with some fill-in and some temp work, just let me know. I'm temping now. Well, Phyllis, the office manager there, was super excited. She said, oh my God, we could use help. Can you come help us? When, a couple weeks after helping, it turned into a permanent position.
Sure.
So, I took that because I knew what an amazing practice Dr. Fleischman ran, and I know the staff there, I know the team there, they are excellent clinicians. And I said, where am I going to get that lucky to have just another second amazing office fall into my lap, where all the other practices I'd been in prior were just spectacular practices.
Yeah, I love that.
So I said, I'll take it 1 day a week. What will 1 day a week hurt? It can't hurt anything. I still have plenty of time to work the other things in, and it gives me a lot of flexibility and freedom still. So I'm still practicing 1 day a week.
So it feeds your soul, which is amazing too, to have that, which is great. So tell us about you mentioned, 1, you stepped out for your consulting business, your consulting agency, and 2, your charity. So 1, I'd love you to tell us about your charity first, and then I want to know the story behind how you were a hygienist and in your head and in your heart, you felt empowered, just that you had to step into consulting.
Okay. So my charity is called Support Sacks, and it supports women and girls in recovery. And there is a connection for me. We lost my sister 10 years ago to a heroin overdose. And she left behind a 4-month-old baby boy, my nephew Jordan. Yeah. So, people feel bad asking me to talk about it, but I'm okay talking about it. It actually brings me a lot of satisfaction because oftentimes I find that I can help other people that are going through the same thing. And it helps people realize you're not alone. It's a common problem we have, and how can we, how can we do this together?
Sure.
So Support Sacks is a charity where I donate their drawstring back sacks, and they're filled with toiletries. They're filled with shampoo and conditioner, body wash, feminine hygiene products, makeup, and a journal. And
I love that.
Yes, and I do have a community of volunteers around me that will host sack drives and stuff a sack events. So it's a woman, the concept is one woman donating this sack to another woman. So inside the journal is a handwritten message saying, you can do this, you're strong, you can get through this. Just a little note of encouragement inside the sack. And so I have a number of recovery centers that I support. So I deliver them around to the recovery centers a couple times a year.
Wow.
That's Support Sacks.
You are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You are amazing. How do we all find out more about that?
I do have a website, supportsacks.org.
Okay.
And also an Instagram page as well.
You do? I didn't see that. How did I miss that? I don't know. Support Sacks. It's just Support Sacks.
SUPPORTSACKS.
Got it. Okay, I'm on it.
I got the idea for the name through my husband is in the Air Force, and there's something called a rucksack.
Yes.
That soldiers would carry through war. And I figured these women in recovery are in a personal war of their own. So I call them support sacks instead of rucksacks.
I love that. Love it. It's so good. It's brilliant. And I love the cause and that it's so connected to you. That's amazing. And I'm sure your sister's looking down and smiling, of course, from up above, because it's just tremendous that
yes,
you're carrying on her light for sure with that. So that's incredible. So I'll go check that out. I know, if I can help in any way, I would love to, for sure. And okay, so then you also, like you had stated, did you feel like in practices you were helping, like the consulting side, where did that come in?
So I worked for an office for 15 years where I told you briefly before that I was the first dental hygienist that he hired.
Yes.
This is Dr. Ken Circa in Philadelphia. And we started out in a super tiny little square foot. I can't remember exactly how many square feet, but it was definitely under 800 square feet. Practice, yes, one operatory for the doctor, one operatory for the hygienist.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I helped him to implement the perio protocol, the hygiene operations manual. I pretty much started from scratch with him there with his hygiene program. And he did a wonderful thing for me. I'm very appreciative of it to this day. He sent me down to Florida to take some practice management courses at the consulting company that he had been going to called MGE. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but so over the 15 years I practiced for him, I took many courses in sales, communication, business management, business organization, management by statistics, leadership. So, including the POWER program that they offer, which is, a program that took me probably about 6 months to complete, going down to Florida maybe once a month. So, I was very fortunate that Ken invested a lot of money in me and my learning and my growth. So with all that knowledge that I had, we had a very successful hygiene department there. We had a close to $1.5 million hygiene department with 3 hygienists working 3 days a week. So, we didn't work a ton of hours. We were very happy. We produced well. Our patients were taken care of. We just had the systems that were running very smoothly. We were all in great communication together. The exchange was fair. Everyone was happy. So after all those years of doing that and acquiring that, I said, one of these days, I said to Ken, one of these days I want to take this knowledge that I have and this experience that I've had with my job here in this practice, because I loved my job. I loved going to work every day. I loved the care I was providing my patients with. I said, I'm going to share that with the dental hygiene community. because there's so much to be learned. And in that short period that I temped before I took the job for Todd Fleischman, I realized what a need there was.
Yeah.
Oh my, the hygiene department's always thrown into.
Totally.
You know, I realized there was a great need for systems that worked well. And, you know, hygienists weren't happy with their jobs. Doctors weren't happy with the hygienist performances. So that's why I decided I wanted to help.
That's amazing. So you were, that practice that was 800 square feet, you were there and part of that practice as it grew. So did he move locations, or did he have the opportunity within that space to purchase next door, or how did that become so big? You had a huge hygiene department.
Right. When I left a year and a half ago, we had three operatories for hygiene and 3 for the dentist. He took on associates. He had 2 associates by the time I left. There was some very significant growth in the practice. But when I left, so he took the suite next door over first. So we knocked on the wall, took the suite next door over. And when you're in Center City, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, wherever you are, you get creative with space.
Sure.
We couldn't go to the other side. We couldn't go to the side any longer. So a suite opened up across the hallway. And I'll never forget that we all were just, how are we going to make this work across the hallway? How are we going to make our patients across the hallway?
Right.
We did. We made it work. We took over a suite across the hallway.
Oh my gosh.
Decided to turn that suite into just a hygiene suite. So all of the hygienists were in the suite across the hallway.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, we had our own front desk area. We had our own consultation room for patients to be brought in there for consultations. And the other side was simply restorative and cosmetics. So we made it work. And
I love it. That's cool. That's like a nice segregated, you know, like,
yeah.
I think that's really fun and great. So I mean, and there's so many independent hygienists out there. Not here. I don't believe it's not legal here, right? No. In Canada, though. I've met some in Canada for sure. Several actually that are doing their own thing. But so that's what it makes me think of, is just like having your own little like hygiene, you know, area. So I don't know how that works without having a dentist, but I think in Canada, do you know anything about this? Are they trained? They're called, it's almost like they have advanced training as well in like assisting. I don't know. They know more, do they?
Are you talking about an EFTA? Or
I think they're like an EFTA and hygiene in order to open a private practice as a hygienist, because the concern's always been, what about the restorative component? And then where do they go? It's amazing that they can make it. I love the concept. And, you know, as a solo practitioner, when I was a hygienist too, I would have wanted my own thing, you know, like, but
I don't know. I love the relationship working with working so closely with the dentist.
Yeah.
I love it. I think that it does a lot for the patient's confidence when the hygienist says, you would benefit from this treatment, and the doctor comes in and says the very same thing when the two are connected.
Yeah.
I love working that closely with the dentist. I love the relationship and the co-therapist kind of role.
Yeah, well, I do too. I'm just going to step back on that. What I meant by that is I dream about the aesthetics of it. So if I were a hygiene, because I was too, I temped for, like, when I moved out to Chicago, I temped as well because I'd been practicing with my mom in a beautiful practice. I saw a lot of practices like you did that I was like, oh, there's no way, you know, and you just envision your own, you know, at least I did, aesthetic, where I want things my own way, and that's just my personality. But I do love teamwork makes the dream work for sure. And I love, oh my gosh, like love team and culture. You know, it's huge.
Yeah. And it's a surprise, to my surprise, it's crazy because when you're in an office for 15 years that's running so smoothly, you think that all offices run that way. And when I got out there and I was temping, some hygienists don't even have a single conversation. They don't say one word to the doctor while they're in the room. So that's one of the things I like to help teams with is I have a dialogue that helps the hygienist communicate with the doctor and the patient so that it sounds smooth and it doesn't sound uncomfortable or awkward. You know, I've witnessed, you know, hygienists that don't even exchange a word with the doctor during the exam.
What?
It's almost uncomfortable doing that, especially when they're temping. They figure I'm just filling in and I better just keep my mouth shut and let the doctor, you know, do what he's going to do. But yeah, so I just love that. I love that relationship with the doctor hygienist, that co-therapist relationship.
I mean, being a hygienist, I tell everyone and anyone that doesn't have a path, that doesn't know where maybe they want to go, I'm like, go into hygiene. It
Mhm.
is so incredibly rewarding. And one of the reasons why, I mean, there's the health component, yes, but like to me, it's relationships all day, every day. And it's such a happy space to be able to, you know, I don't know, meet different people and grow that way. So that's amazing to me. I thought all people got into hygiene because they love to talk like me and, you know what I mean, meet people. And it would just be so odd not having a conversation. I certainly have not seen that because I don't know, that would never work for me. Right. But, you know, I have seen offices for sure and have been into many for, because we've been doing photo shoots for years for practices, you know, branded photo shoots and things. And so on day 2 of those photo shoots, they'll be working with a kind of a slower schedule because they want to capture the behind the scenes. So a lot of times, you know, I've got one ear in, and that's where I'm always mind blown as well, listening and hearing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you know, yes, just with little minor tweaks, it could be, you know, just, I mean, I don't want to say so much better, but definitely more productive.
Absolutely.
You know, and then there's the organization factor too. And I truly believe, and I'm sure you know this as well, is that they just don't know what they don't know.
Yep.
And this is the harder part. And this is why I love that we're speaking to it. And I love social media so we can let people and offices and dentists know we're here, is because the struggle is real and they don't know why or where they're even stuck. And then there's also the thing that they may not want to spend money, you know, but yet it's such, the investment, you know, is so worthwhile because it makes such a difference. And when people are getting discouraged or not liking, we discussed this earlier before we hopped on to record as well, about dentists being unhappy in practice. Well, typically, like I said, it's just all of these things, right, that build up to a disjointed team and, you know, unhappiness amongst all versus coming together and, you know, just talking amongst one another, figuring out what needs to be fixed. And
Yeah. I mean, look, dental school doesn't teach us everything. And, you know, I know as a hygienist, I think that what dental hygiene profitability coaches and dental consulting companies are doing is extremely important for new dentists that are starting a new practice. Why not start your hygiene department off, you know, winning right off the bat? You know, when you hire a dental hygiene coach or a dental practice management consultant, it's a win-win for everyone. It's a win for the practice because you're going to be able to be profitable. It's a win for the patients because they're going to be receiving the best care they possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a win for the staff and the team because they feel like they're actually contributing and they're happy and the morale is high. And, you know, communication is huge in the dental practice, and there's lots of things that they don't teach us in school that help us get that communication across a lot better to our team and patients.
Yeah, celebrations are huge. No, we don't learn anything when it comes to leadership. 1, 2, I have also discovered through my Dentalfluence and just coaching new dentists, and that's why I stepped into that with new dentists, is because I was begged to do it. And I, again, felt like it was my calling. I stepped into it and I have been mind blown at, oh my gosh, just so many things. And you forget when you get into dentistry and you're going and you kind of hit this level or this threshold, which is kind of where I'm at with the dentistry, doing all of the things. When you get out of dental school, you also don't know dentistry. And some of the things, so to be able to walk through cases with dentists has been so rewarding, to have another set of eyeballs on a case and help them through that. So that's like a whole nother thing, you know, aside from just the teamwork makes the dream work. There's also the dentistry that is being done to be productive in that practice, you know, to bring things in that they might be afraid to do, like Invisalign and other things that are so profitable and really so easy. And we want to be able, like I said, for our patients, that's such a huge thing to be able to give them, you know, for their smiles. Like I do Invisalign all the time and it's one of my favorite things to do. So I'm trying to encourage, dentists to step in. I mean, now there are so many other ones out there in the market too, but yes, so we don't learn leadership. We don't learn anything when it comes to really cosmetics, let alone, the newer ways to do things versus I think they're still probably teaching do bridges. Like, oh, maybe you want to think about an implant, but in dental school, you're waxing up a bridge or something, which today we just wouldn't really do.
It's interesting. I happened to see something on Instagram a couple weeks ago. It was a dental page that I follow, and it's led by dental students and their perspective on dental school. And I noticed one of the posts was a student saying how he wasn't looking forward to they have a leadership, they're doing something with leadership in his dental school. They're trying to introduce it. And there was something that they were doing where they had to go around, they weren't seeing patients if they were in that role. They were basically going around making sure that everything was running smoothly in the clinic. And that was a part of this leadership program. And the student was kind of saying, I'm not looking forward to it because the second year students don't like taking orders from the first year students. So it's a little uncomfortable. And so I was biting my tongue, but I did write back and say, this is a wonderful learning opportunity for you. I said, the second year dental students that don't like taking orders from the first year, they better get used to it, because when you get out there in your practice, you're going to be taking orders from your office manager. If your office manager is a good office manager and knows how to run the office and direct the office, she will be directing orders to you. So get used to it.
It's not the dentist to teach her how to be a leader in that role as well, in the way they want to run their practice. It is. And I think dentists, the thing is that most of us have that artistic, the right brain versus the left brain, and so it does require you to step into both. And I think a lot of us fight it and are like, oh, we don't want that. We just want to show up and do, do the art, component of it and health component, but managing people when you have your own practices, yes, to your point, in a whole nother dynamic, which, I agree with you. If anyone is struggling, certainly a consultant that gets it, to have them in early to get you set up for success.
And teach good habits from the start, right?
Right. Yes, most definitely. So when you go into practices, are you strictly a hygiene department versus entire practice?
Yeah, strictly hygiene. I think I often think about it, and I think that it would be wonderful for me to work with someone who had an entire, front end consulting company where they consulted across the board from assistants to, front desk and the business end of it. But for now, it's just hygiene consulting. I'm staying in my area of comfort, in the area I'm at. And you never know. Who knows what the future will bring? Maybe I'll join someone who will be able to complement one another with the services we provide.
Sure. No, I love that you're staying in your lane for that, for sure, because it's huge. I learned the hard way with that, even with social media, trying to do all of the things. I said, you know what, Instagram's my jam. I know this has worked for me in my practice, and that's why I'm going to stay here too, and teaching just all of the things about this and how to, make, like I said, grow your practice that way. It's hard because our brains are there's so many things you want to do, but it's best to stay.
I'm staying in my lane. There's plenty of me for someone in the hygiene area, communication, organization, planning, all that stuff. And I know of wonderful practice management consultants that I could refer to if someone needed something else.
Sure.
And vice versa. So yeah.
That's a fantastic thing, is just having even someone from the outside can bring so many tips and tricks into a practice that, like you said, referrals for different things, anything from a headrest cover to a company for a different product or different ways to do things. I mean, they're so opening yourself up versus, because dentistry is so isolated, when you're practicing that. I mean, and granted, there are 1 billion thousand Facebook pages, but it's too much.
Right.
you know, and unfortunately we see a lot of the negative stuff on it. And I think you probably like me are trying to, because I see on your Instagram page too, you're extremely positive. This is about creating a positive environment and going back to having fun, because it's so easy in dentistry to get so stressed out and frazzled and forget about that, which, you know, again, goes back to stepping back and taking a bird's eye view of it and looking at, well, how is everything running in it? So like where you do the inside, I'm all about, let's showcase it on the outside. And that's why I'm staying in my lane for that, because there's an importance for both. But you need to do something differently.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially now, I feel since practices were shut down with the mandatory quarantine, I feel like there's a little bit of a different attitude amongst clinicians. And I don't know if it's because it's tougher to reach goals now, seeing less patients, PPE costs being higher. People are a little bit less excited about going back to work. There's a lot of stresses at home, like people are homeschooling their children now, so there's a whole different stress level at home.
Craziness.
And, you know, the big thing that's important, what I've tried to practice as a hygienist myself, and what I try to tell the hygiene teams that I work with, is to stay in the present time with your patient.
Mm-hmm.
If you learn to stay in present time with your patient and you don't miss out on those conversations you should be having with them and the procedures that you may not be detecting that they need, you know, if you're worried about your kids' class or your kids' study or something that happened before you left the house this morning, you're never going to be able to be truly 100% focused on your patient. So especially with everything that's going on now, with all the extra stressors people have at home, the most important thing is really just stay in present time with your patient. When you're with your patient, be with your patient and your patient only. And be prepared to have as many conversations as you need to get them to accept the treatment that they need. And that sometimes gets put off because people don't know how to handle it.
No, they are paying for your paycheck. We should be so grateful to have them in our chair, and it's absolutely about them and us giving them their time. I agree with you 1,000%, and I get it. You know, the world is still a little upside down. I mean, we have homeschool for the 3 kids. It's epic. My son's teacher has a crying child on her arm teaching 8-year-olds. It's like an 8-year-old is trying to focus. It does not make sense. It's just, you know, but and it is what it is. So what do you have to do? We pivoted and we hired tutors to come to the house to be with each child. And I'm lucky I was able to do that. That was our decision. But, you know, it's crazy. But because, like I said, focus is, you know, what is the focus, the quote about focus? Energy goes where focus flows, money flows. You know, that one, it's so important that that we check whatever it is at the door, and that we step in and take care of those people that are providing for us and our families at the end of the day. It is truly what we love, and you can get all caught up on that negative about PPP, whatever stuff. It is what it is, you know. We have to wear it, and you know what? We should all be over it by now. I mean, I get when we came back, but now we know how to breathe. We figured it out. It's the new norm. It's the new norm. It's okay.
The new norm, right? I've really gotten used to working with an HV and a slow speed at the same time.
Right. Yes. I mean, I remember, you know, that panic kind of coming back in with everything, but I would think, and this is what I encourage teams. So for me, I've been fortunate as well, because with the fee-for-service practice, I've always seen one person at a time. It's always been all about them. So I didn't have that type of big practice where now it would be affecting us, you know, having to slow down. But there's an opportunity here as well for practices to really take that additional time with each guest, and, you know, for those wins to maybe pivot and grow their practice in a different way that I feel like they've always wanted to anyway. I mean, who wants to be on a hamster wheel 24/7 running between 3 rooms to do hygiene checks? I personally wouldn't. I mean, some may thrive on that, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, my whole philosophy has always since day one been about my people and my patients, which is why I've done things the way I have. I love my patients, and I want to have that time to, yeah, open an ear and listen, because at the end of the day, I'm sure you'd agree too, it's all about listening.
Yeah.
You know?
And my recommendation is always leave your cell phone in the staff lounge,
Oh,
and
yes.
don't look at it till listen, if you got a lot going on at home, you may not even want to look at it at lunchtime. You may want to just wait till the end of the day to look at it, because
Yeah.
I feel like it's the clinicians that keep it in their pocket, or that are the ones that can't really focus on the patient's needs, because their head is always, what's going on my Instagram, or my text messaging. So my practice of philosophy has always been, I don't want to know what's going on outside the office while I'm in the office. I'd rather not know till I'm ready to leave the office.
Yeah. And that's leadership, and that's up to leadership. For me, I know how addictive that is. And I have, my team knows that the phones, they're all on the back kitchen table. And when they have a break, and that's okay, if there's a break in between patients, even if it's not their lunch break, they can go back and they can take a quick peek at it, but they do not travel. They are not with them, because it is extremely disruptive.
Yes.
And I feel like I have seen in other practices, to your point, I've seen that happen where in the hygiene room, in between patients, they're getting on their phone and checking things. To your point, they need to be 100% for their, patient, and checked in, who's coming next, what's on deck, knowing about that person and everything else. And you can't do that if
and just
right.
I call it in present time, just be
Yes.
in present time. And as much as we think we're not going to be that way, as much as we think we're not going to let it interfere with our patient or our team, if it's something you see you don't like, or something that's stressing, it is going to take you out of that present moment and take you somewhere you don't want to be necessarily. So I know none of us are intending to let it distract us from our patients and our work environment, but it is a big distractor.
I see opposite. I feel like it makes them feel really good, because I know how Instagram makes people feel really good, like it brings the happy flow back. So that's kind of probably why, with the check-ins, but I always say to them too, if it is, obviously, if there's anything with family or a child or whatever, we do still have an office phone number, even though we text with leave and we do all the other things, we still have an office phone. And if somebody needs to get in touch with you, they absolutely can, because they know to do that, right? Because you're going to be in the operatory anyway. You don't need to be checking your phone for that. So typically they're checking, just texts from friends, or, social media and that kind of stuff that can absolutely wait until their hour lunch, and then
part of what I do for hygiene teams is provide, leadership coaching as well, because like you said, that's a leadership mentality. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, not a lot of clinicians have that leadership mentality. They come to work to polish teeth, clean teeth, to be a hygienist, but they don't come to be a leader. So, that's important today, especially if you don't have a hygiene manager or a hygiene coordinator. If you don't have those skills, it's very hard to take your hygiene department to that next level. So leadership training involves, communication training, being able to plan, set goals, plan for reaching them, plan for carrying them out, have your business ethics in place at all times.
Yes.
Things like that. And that, it does help.
Right. Especially if the doctor doesn't have it. I've met a lot of doctors that just don't want to deal with resistance. And that's, again, why they need to hire a third party then to come in and do it. Because if you do not have leadership, in that flow in a practice, it will be very difficult to make that practice productive. Mm-hmm. So, either sometimes teams get lucky and you find somebody that comes in and they've just got that skill set and they're able to do that. But then, others, like I said, it's just all over the place, as you've seen. But I've met so many dentists that don't want to. And, it took me a long time. I'm a high I personality. This has taken me years, and now I've become the alpha female of let's go, girls. I mean, I love on my people, but at the same time, it's this is business and let's get to it. It's all about our patients and everything else. And, and I am just so fortunate to have, like I said, just such an incredible team that I love so much.
That's great.
But like I said, we get to choose, as our teams get to choose us, we get to choose, but I do feel like we have to step in and give them the best, the way that doctor gave you, that opportunity. Same thing with me. I support all of my team members to fly. My dental assistant is essentially a freaking dentist. She is amazing. Like I have said to her 1,000 times, you know, and she has just made the decision that dental school's on her radar. Now she didn't finish, she didn't go to college or anything, but she's starting classes and she's going to do it. I mean, she is a rock star. I just let her fill. I had this little like tooth, like little chippy on the incisal the other day. And I said, go ahead, Kay, get in there and get it. And it just, she's so great, but just to empower our team for whatever their dreams are in life, vision boards, help support them where they want to go, you know, and just like kind of all come together, yeah, and support one another, but do the work and show up. And, you know, you want to hear laughter. I'm sure you agree in a practice. Yeah. And when you're doing things like that, there's no time, like you wouldn't be thinking to go to your phone to look for, you know, that.
You're enjoying your team and your patients, that you're not really searching for anything external to bring you joy. You've got it right there in the office going on.
Right.
You know?
So when you're in a practice, do you, if you go in specifically for hygiene, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, do you work for all hygiene departments, whether they're 1, 2, 3, or 10?
Yes, it doesn't matter the size. I haven't had 10 yet. I haven't worked with practices that big, but yeah, it doesn't matter the size. A lot of what I do, especially because I started my business, I received my LLC in January. I started working on it last summer, summer of 2019. So most of my operating time has been during COVID, you know, during the COVID-19 quarantine. So of course I was hit with many challenges, just like a lot of us starting new businesses have been hit with. So I took that time, that downtime that I was not working and I was in the house, and I basically took my program and made it virtual. So
I saw that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, a lot of what I'm doing is online or phone coaching. Yes, through Zoom or through the phone.
Right. And I saw, as you were stating, and it's true, is that it saves a lot of money from, you know, you don't have to do the travel and all that, which does add up as well. And you're able to do it less expensively. And that is tremendous. Yes. And we're all on Zoom anyway. I think we've all learned through stepping in and like these pivots that you can, like I said, learn this way too. So to take the time and if that makes sense, and you know.
And there are a few doctors I'm working with where we're just doing by the hour coaching, because they just, you know, new dentists that have just started this year or last year, and they were shut down for 3 to 4 months. A, they don't have the budget, or B, they're really afraid to spend it right now. So, you know, I am offering by the hour coaching where, you know, we can do it by the hour, tackle one problem at a time. I will give you 5 to 10 action steps that support that hour of coaching. It's not like I talk to you for an hour, charge you, and then boom, we're done.
Love it. Yeah.
You know, I'm providing action steps. I'm providing any documents that support those action steps, and follow-up emails. So it's really more than an hour they're getting, but it just helps to keep the costs down. In a time where, you know, right now I do understand why people want to be a little conservative in the dental field.
Yeah, I get it. I get that too. I think that's a great, again, way to pivot and give people that access. What I have found, and it's been amazing, is that many practices up to now anyway have killed it. I mean, my practice numbers have been beyond. I had the best September I've ever had. And now, of course, you know, I'm starting to see the lull, which will play off. And I always say that, I'm like, okay, so we did so well here, but now this month, you know, you got to blend last month with this month, really, and it gets us back to average. But it's okay, you know, not to get stressed out. Again, remembering that stress affects our team, and, you know, trying to keep it positive and productive, and having things for your team members to do when it gets slow. You know, things like that, really important, because otherwise, like I said, everyone is just in angst.
Yeah, so. Our practice is doing great too, thank goodness. Since we went back to practice mid-June, seeing patients, and July we had terrific numbers. August, September, same thing. We're doing great, and we're seeing one less hygiene patient a day per hygienist. because we're spending more time with them now.
Sure.
Seeing one less patient a day, and we're producing more. So
Yep.
it's been great.
I always say that work less, make more. That's what I tell dentists.
That's the goal. That's what I would love to do for hygiene departments and practices.
Yes.
Is help them to realize that they can be just as productive in less time. So they don't burn out. So they're not thinking they need to work 5 days a week to make the same numbers they could make in 3 days a week.
Right. If you have holes in your schedule, you're working too many days.
Yes.
This is what I always tell them. And so what my hygienist has an admin day. I let her get caught up on all of her recall and dive into her route slip so she knows every detail about every one of our patients for the 3 days that we work. But I give her that time because then we condense the patients into the other days because, like I said, nothing gets done if you have an hour here and an hour there. And I believe in paying hygienists through their time. You don't just nickel and dime and say, sorry, you don't have a patient, you're not getting paid. No, you've been a hygienist, I have been too. You just cannot do that to your team or to keep the culture and all of that. That does not feel good.
Yeah.
So, you know.
How much there is to talk about the subject, right?
I know.
On and on.
I know, I agree. I know, I'm so sad we have to get off because I have so many things. Okay, so just tell us then, if you want to learn more about like Kim and all of her amazing, can you just share where, like your handles and where people can find you?
Absolutely. So I have a website. It's kmchygiene.com. You can also email me, Kimberly at kmchygiene.com. I have an Instagram page as well. Something new I just started, Dr. Emery, I totally forgot to tell you about. Text communication. So October is National Dental Hygiene Month. So what I'm launching, what I've just launched is for anyone that's interested, you can text the word hygiene to 55678.
Oh, I saw that.
And you will receive from me weekly hygiene, productivity, and leadership tips. So you can opt out anytime you want, but if it's something that you want to be involved with, it's just a fun little opportunity to receive some tips and just some words of inspiration to stay positive and appreciate the wonderful profession of hygiene, which I love. And, you know, that's why I do what I do.
I love that. I love that. What a way to close. You're amazing. I love that opportunity. So you all have it. We'll put it as well in the show notes of this podcast so that people will have that to reach out to you. And I can't thank you enough for being here today and supporting hygiene teams and bringing all of your positivity. And for all of you, when you hop on her Instagram and follow along, you're going to see she's got the most awesome frames ever. They're like hot pink, incredible frames that because again, we met on social media, you know, through following one another. Again, the power of social media. I love it. I've seen your tortoise ones too, but
yes, I love them too. You seem to be the ones that people recognize me the most with. They're like, oh, your pink glasses.
Yes.
So one of my best friends said to me, you know, you're going to need to wear those pink glasses forever now. And I said, oh, I better try to stock up on a couple pair of frames before they're out of stock.
Well, they are a staple. I mean, maybe like I said, for now anyway, but look for her pink frames and her awesomeness and positive, like I said, she's bringing to the hygiene world. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really do.
All right, perfect. Until next time, guys. Thanks so much.